Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I'm Gunnar Eels, and welcome to another episode of the Logical Gamers podcast. Tonight, I am joined by Mr. BlankaKong and Mr. Zeta Kaiser. Three-man show this evening. So, topic for this week is I don't know. I've been I've been playing the video games. I'm a big RPG fan, and recently a pretty big RPG some of you might know called Persona 3 Reload dropped. And I like to do what I like to do. I like to go on the internet and kind of see what people are saying about the game, what's like the general consensus of the game. I know what I like, so I'm not really relying on reviews for that game, but I like to read reviews, see what people are saying. And I noticed this weird kind of like trend or like a little debate going on in kind of the internet communities regarding the game, where people saying that they don't like it or it's not worth the $70 price tag because this is one of the games in our current modern gaming landscape that costs $70, that it's not worth the money that it's asking for because it's a one-to-one remake, as in the story beats are exactly the same, the ending is exactly the same. So if you played Persona 2 back on the PlayStation 2 in like what the 2000s, then you know how the game ends. So I'm not going to spoil it for those who might be listening and are playing Reload for the first time. You may hear spoilers in this video, just kind of throwing that out there. You have been warned. But it's the same game. It's the same game as the PlayStation 2 one. And for me, I kind of like it like that. Because when I want a remake, I want obviously improvements to like things that were a big hurdle or a hindrance in the original game, but for the most part, I like the story to stay the same. And this is what I wanted from Final Fantasy VII. This is kind of where I got the idea for the topic, because Rebirth, I believe it's called, as of the filming of this video, comes out in a couple weeks. And I personally, I'll speak for me, so I think I know he shares the same opinion. It's shit. I'm not interested in it at all. I have no interest in it. One, because it's in three parts, and two, because it's been so morphed and changed from the original game that, in my opinion, it is not even the same game anymore. So that's kind of where the topic idea came from. So, pretty much TLDR. When it comes to a remake, do we like our remakes to be one-to-one interpretations with obviously modern graphics and, some quality of life adjustments that were missing from the original game? Or do we want something akin to the same theme of the game with a lot of the same plot points, but we change certain things for whatever reason in the game's storyline? So just before I pass it off, my personal feeling is, if you're gonna do a remake, uh, and if it my analogy, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If the story was solid to begin with, just give me what I want. Like, that's what I wanted from 7. Just give me the same game, bump up the graphics, add voice acting, you know, obviously fix some things that might have been due to PlayStation limitations of the time, but for the most part, give me the same game. That's what I want. And I read that that's kind of not a shared opinion. So anyway, with that long rambling intro out of the way, um, what do you guys think? I know you guys have had franchises that you guys have liked that have gotten remakes over the years or remasters. We'll talk about that weird naming convention between remake, remaster. What the hell does that even mean? Um, but what do you guys think? Do you guys want a one-to-one remake? Just it looks nicer and plays better, or if you're gonna pay $70, do you want something more? And more than what we got back when the original came out. Thoughts? What do you think?
Well, the first thing I want to do, in case we get that one comment person who's like, "Oh, you fucked up at the beginning. You said Persona 2 and not Persona 3." So just get that out
Did
the
I?
way.
Oh shit,
Yeah.
that's a Freudian slip. Well, hey, I shit, fucking give me P1 and P2.
Yeah, so get that
Good
out the way.
catch.
Yeah. I well, you already know, but I would prefer that you just give me what was there and just make it pretty or make it more up to what is, I guess, an acceptable standard of, the modern brain rot of it has to be pretty. Because the easiest example I can use, since we already did Final Fantasy, is the difference between the 7 remake, remaster, whatever the fuck, and Trials of Mana, where Trials of
Hmm.
Mana was basically the same thing, just in 3D, but like proper 3D, not the like basically sliding screens or like it was on the Super Nintendo, which obviously, like, I mean, they could have just gave me freaking the Super Nintendo version. I wouldn't have cared. I would have still wanted it. But having it done that the way it is done uh now or when it came out back in fucking 2020, like I was fine with how Trials of Mana was done completely. Like it was prettier. It was they had some new things like we got some extra classes and stuff like that, but for the most part, everything was one to one, just in a 3D environment, in a proper 3D environment, with prettier things to look at and cutscenes and like you said, voice acting and all that other just glamour things up. Basically, that's all that happened. So I much prefer that. I mean, there is like a way to do it correctly or a way to not do it as like an easy cash grab, like already the $70. That's a separate thing. But like,
Hmm.
because like we compare it to does this count as a port or does this count as a real? Well, whatever. I'm going to use it anyways. We compare it to like fucking the difference between Resident Evil's 2 and 3 and the Devil May Cry port slash thing where it's just like they just brought over basically the PS2 games and like I don't know if it was an emulator fashion or if they really updated anything, but like a big complaint for that was how the menus were still
Oh yes, they were still
scaled.
standard definition. Yeah.
Yeah, they were still scaled to how they were on PS2, and it's just like, huh, you guys missed a step here. Like you made all of this look a certain way, but these menus are kind of choppy. Like you cut out in a section that you really shouldn't have and didn't need to cut out on. So there's still a right and wrong way to do it, but just overall, I don't want the 7 treatment because now we get into the 7 area of where it's just like, well, now you've changed things and now things that how the story should have went or how the game should have gone aren't the same anymore. So now, because the entire reason basically is this is just nostalgia bait. You're like, hey, you remember this? Here, give me your money. Like, yep, you're right. I remember this. Here's my money. Now you've taken that away from me because now you've changed things. It's like, all right, well, why is Yuffie here so damn early, and why is Yuffie important? Yuffie's not important. She was a side character, but because I know this is like a 7 specific problem, but because we've gotten to where we are and everything is like a monolith, the 7 brand, well, now we can't have side missable characters. Everybody has to be here because you have to know everyone.
Right. That I think that's a weird kind of has a lot to do with the modern, or I guess, gaming as a whole. Because not to side tangent it a little bit, but like a lot of people don't like to miss things.
Yeah,
So like a lot of people would be very upset if they found out, oh, but what do you mean there were two characters that were completely missable? That's not fair. I should
you
not be allowed to miss them.
should be. You should have explored. That's the whole point of playing.
Right, right, yeah. But that's the thing when it comes to if they left it 1-to-1, then yeah, I would still want Yuffie to be missable. I would
Yeah,
want Yuffie to be missable, which causes you to miss out on the Leviathan materia, and I want Vincent to be missable, which causes you to miss out on the Odin materia. I want all those consequences. Like I wanted them preserved. They are definitely not going to be. But
duh. Yeah, because again, like that this defeats the purpose of you doing this. Like I get you want new people to get in, but it's like this is realistically you're making this for the older fans who remember this because like this no otherwise there's no point in remaking this game if the people who remember it aren't going to be there to buy it. Like you're trying to get an overlap of like, all right, well, if we do this for the people who remember it, and then maybe we bring in some new people because they see other people getting hype. Oh, well, these guys are excited about it. Maybe I'll check it out, and then you from there you develop new fans. Like I get the point and the plan, but much like how we see with the Disney situation, it's just like this only works if you leave it the way that the old people remember it. Because if you
Right.
start changing things, well, I'm upset because you changed it, and if the new people like it but don't like it enough to carry it on, this becomes a problem that, I mean, technically you don't have to deal with it because it'll deal with itself. It'll just not turn into anything. But you want it to continue. You want it to extend beyond basically my life cycle. You want this to go on for the next fucking 30, 40, 60 plus years. Like again, using the Disney example, like people remember all the classic princesses and stuff like that, but I don't think anybody's gonna really remember the live action remake of like The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and all this other stuff. Somebody will remember it and like it, but it won't have that same just generational lasting power as the old animated classics, which is technically what you want, and you're trying to do it, but you're doing it wrong because you think, well, now is a different time. We have to do it with live action and all this other stuff because this is what people want. This is like, no, what even if that is what people want, people don't want that for this thing specifically. They want what they remember so that they can pass it on to the next generation. Like, this is what I like, this is what I watched, this is what I remember. And it's just, it's prettier now.
Yeah.
Now you get to enjoy it without, it being in fucking 144p.
I mean, that's a good point you brought up because another one that just came to my head was the recent Star Ocean re remake because
Yeah,
this isn't
yeah.
the first one.
No, it's not.
But even then, that was still the same game,
Yes.
and I appreciated that. I know you did because they could have done things with that game, but they didn't. They obviously changed its look. I love the way it looks. They might have made certain gameplay aspects easier, which would upset purists. I'm not gonna dunk on that. I read stuff about they made certain skills easier to acquire or
Oh
less
yeah.
grindy to acquire. I get that. Um, that's at that point that's arguing semantics, which
Yeah, that's nitpicking because like there's like
yeah,
because if you compare it like there is because this is a PS1 game, so there's graphical issues that's going on there where the game is fighting itself to do all the fancy animations, and this is like, well, you don't really have this problem in the modern age. So like the stuff that was difficult or the stuff that was a problem is like the modern technology doesn't have that problem, so it's not going to be up to the same standard that was back then.
right.
So like a skill that was hard to deal with back then because like, all right, well, I'm fighting my PlayStation 1 that's screaming at me because the fucking disc is spinning and it's lagging, trying to freaking heal myself through fucking uh specule and shit like that. It was like I don't have that problem now. Like I can do everything in a very fluid way.
Right, but like I appreciate that it's still the same game. It's the same story beats, the same progress.
Yeah.
Like
The same
I
problems that you would have had back then, you'll have now, and you'll remember it because it's like, I remember when this happened. I need to do X, Y, Z. Or if you didn't know, you'll learn it, and then that'll be a memory you can share with other people, and they'll be like, yep, that's what happens.
yeah. So like I like that because again, someone who's never played older Star Oceans, they can get into it and not have to like the newer and easier systems will help them kind of hopefully integrate and not try to um, need to be kept by gates. But
Always need the gates.
hopefully like brings them in. It's like, yo, this Star Ocean shit is pretty cool. I like it. And then like the old heads were like, yeah, man, this is what we were playing back on the PSP and the fucking PS1.
Yeah,
Um, I think one that's kind of a happy medium. Now it's coming to me are the Resident Evil remakes. Not so much three,
yeah. I was gonna
but
say,
two.
I think two was the better of
Yes,
the.
two was like a weird kind of fusion hybrid. The story was fundamentally the same. Like it still ended with you getting out of Raccoon City before the nukes dropped, but there were certain things that were changed. Kind of Claire and Leon were integrated better into the story than they were in the original, when it was literally just Leon. It's like, oh shit, there goes Claire. I haven't seen you since the beginning of the game. How you doing? So I think they did a better job with that. Obviously, the game looked great. The game played great. It played differently because it's now over the shoulder as opposed to fixed camera angles. So that's obviously different. But it
Yeah.
still kept in my opinion anyway, it still kept the fundamental soul of Resident Evil 2.
But that's
Nah.
also still like a again, like I was saying with like the play. Well, they're both on PlayStation One, but like with the original Star, or not the original. Whoa, that's Super Nintendo. But with Star Ocean 2 and like that, like those are all PlayStation One games. It's like how Resident Evil was back then was because of the time. Like it would
Right.
not make
Yeah.
sense for, and nobody will play it. Like no one would accept it. Even the people I think who like the originals would accept it because every new screen was basically like a mini loading screen. And if you went up and down the stairs or through a door, that was also a loading screen.
Yes.
Like the technology now is strong enough where we don't need that specifically
Right.
anymore.
Yeah. I'm cool with that because that was the limitation of the PlayStation, and now in the case of Resident Evil, that was on PlayStation 4. So it's obviously we don't need those loading screens anymore. So now you
Yeah,
just walk up the stairs or open the door.
yeah,
That's a charm of Resident Evil, sure. I mean, I've seen that door opening in like a bunch of memes, but it was also a limitation to the machine that it was on at the time. So
yeah.
I wouldn't want them to keep that in, even though that would be the purest form of the game. So
You're not a real
yeah.
fan unless you want freaking single step freaking uh Leon walking.
Hey, I'm just saying, Mr. I was gonna say Mr. T. Ooh, that's incorrect. Mr. X. I don't think would nearly have been as intimidating in the beginning if I had to go through loading screens to get to him. The fact that he's just like fucking power Chad walking up the stairs, and I'm running like a little bitch on yellow
Yeah.
health. It would have been the same if there was a loading screen of me going up the stairs.
It also helps that it's not like preset. Like I know we're skipping over Resident Evil 3, but back then the Nemesis part, if they had kept it 1-to-1, were preset. So I mean, if you played enough, obviously you knew where he was going,
Right.
where
Yeah.
he would be. But like again, with like Mr. X, it's like him just walking around naturally as opposed to being in preset locations is brings a different type of fear than as opposed going through it the first time and being like, oh shit, who are you? Why are you here?
Right, and now you have HD audio, so you hear these massive fucking footprints, these footsteps just thunking. And it's like, where is he, on the third floor? Is he on the lobby? Is he behind this door? I have no fucking idea.
And then you open the door and you're standing there. And you're like, ah, shit.
And he just fucking clotheslines the shit out of you.
Yeah,
So, like, that's an example of a game that still kept the soul of the game, but obviously, like, okay, we have way more to work with now than we did back in fucking 97. Um, so now we're gonna use that to kind of maybe do things that we just couldn't do back then, but it's still fundamentally the same game. I just wish we got that from 7. It's like, the, the fuck happened, man?
So I'll just chime in real quick. I'll make a correction to Resident Evil 3. So Nemesis in the original does have preset like encounters, but he does have like spontaneous encounters or encounters that would be in spontaneous to a first time player. Um, and then also he has like parts in the game where he's able to kind of like enter any room. So like for example, if you're in the part where you're after the restaurant, but before entering the park with the blue and green gems, he at that point is able to like pretty much go anywhere. He could follow you almost anywhere. Um, and there's even encounters where this encounter I've only ever seen once, where you're near the power plant. He could be on top of the building. And he could shoot rockets at you. I've only ever seen that once, and I don't know what prompted that encounter, but that's like a spontaneous encounter that if you do things a certain like in a certain order, you'll get that as an encounter that isn't a part of the normal like playthrough. So like somehow the original Resident Evil 3 is way better than the fucking remake. But anyway,
Yeah.
so with remakes, like there's different types, right? So there's ports, which is a literal like what you guys mentioned before, where like the Devil May Cry collection from PS2 to PS3 was just literally we're just gonna dump the game into a Blu-ray disc and make it playable on PS3. Done. Those are the worst, right? Because those are just there's no attempts at improvement. It's just literally a dump of the old files into a new form, like a new way to play it. Then there's remakes, which is, and there's two kinds of remakes. There's a remake where they will rebuild it, but make it as close to the original source material as possible. So I'm looking at Demon Souls remake, looking at the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Like those games were rebuilt from the ground up. They didn't use the original code or original files. They rebuilt it and just made it as close as possible. And both those remakes are pretty good for what they are, what they're supposed to be. And then there are remakes like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, where like it's really close to the original source material, but different enough to where it feels like a new experience or a more modern experience. Then there's remasters, which is literally the same game, same code, same everything, just polished and like upgraded. Remasters can be fine, but I typically hate remasters only because they don't make improvements where it counts or where it matters. So, like for example, they won't update controls, or they won't add features to make the gameplay like more modernized. So, like an example would be the Ninja Gaiden series. If you play the Ninja Gaiden collection, it still uses like what I feel are archaic 2004, 2003 controls, which felt normal back then, but now is just like this feels awkward. Like controlling the camera with the triggers, for example. Like it's like why wouldn't you change this, right? Whereas what's an example of a good change? So like a good change would be the Monster Hunter G on which is a Japanese only game, but it was pushed onto Wii back in 2009, 2008, something like that. And that was a remake of the original Monster Hunter. In the original PS2 Monster Hunter, you had to attack with the thumbsticks. You didn't attack with the face buttons. You didn't use square and triangle to attack. You used fucking R stick up and R stick right, and it was super weird, right? And if you go back and play it, it's like, ugh, this is bad. But if you play the Monster Hunter G version on the Wii, they updated it to where it's the same game, but the controls are updated to modern Monster Hunter controls, where it's like the face buttons to attack. But you could still play the old way too, which is nice. It's like, okay, you have the option to do either or, which is always a good thing, right? So for me, the best remakes or the best remasters, whatever fucking category you want to pick, the best ones are the ones that are rebuilt from the ground up but are close to the original. And then the exception would be Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4. Those are like Resident Evil on GameCube. Like those are remakes that took liberties, but somehow managed to improve on the original. I can't think of many games that have managed to do that as far as like remakes. So, yeah, but that was my first bone in the pile as far as this conversation is concerned. I don't play RPGs like that, so like as far as Star Ocean's concerned or Final Fantasy, I don't have a dog in that fight. It's like it's not my fight to fight, but I understand your frustrations.
Yeah, it's just
the frustration more comes along with just changing. Like an easy example, because we always make fun of it anyways, is the Final Fantasy 11 Malboro incident with you, sir, and having to deal with bad breath for the first time. Like that is something that us as old Final Fantasy players knew what was going to happen, or knew it's something that could happen. Whereas now, like Malboro is treated as like bad breath exists in modern games, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I understand that.
Like
it's wanting the legacy to stay intact. Where like if you played, and I'll use a game that I played extensively as an example, Resident Evil 3. So in Resident Evil 3 Remake, a bunch of the encounters that you have in RE3 original are just stripped away in the original. And so, like, if you're playing the original and I don't know any better, if you're playing the remake and I don't know any better and I only know about the original, I'm gonna be like watching you play, like, oh man, I can't wait till you get to the police station and Nemesis just bursts through the window and chases you down. That doesn't happen. That whole segment is gone, which is fucking frustrating. So I think that's similar to what you're saying, where the Marlboro, I got fucking hit with bad breath for the first time ever, and I was like, "What is happening?" And I got hit with all those stat debuffs. But you guys were like, "Oh, he didn't know, but now he does." That
Yeah.
that effect is gone. If that never happened to me in 11, and I played 7 remake or whatever, and I got hit with bad breath, the impact would not have been even remotely the same.
Yeah. Or it might have been like, because I know in Noctis game, because I keep forgetting the number, so I just call it
15,
Noctis
15.
game.
15.
15. Like it's treated as like a cutscene, basically. So like
Bro,
it happens, but it's like it's part of the fight. So like it's
bro,
part of the script that you're supposed to get hit with bad breath, and they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" Is it, "Oh, it's just bad breath. I'm going to explain it to you like you're 5 or you've never played a
it's
Final Fantasy
very,
before."
very, very, very bad. It's very not good.
Yeah.
Bro, it's even worse in 16. In 16, it's a thing you can interrupt. It's like a
Oh my
big,
God.
it's like a big charge attack, and you do all the crazy Dante Devil May Cry moves. You can
Yeah.
stop it, and it's just like,
Gosh,
ah,
jeez. Well, I wasn't gonna buy 16, but that sounds about right.
like this is where
Which,
we are, folks.
yeah, that's my point. Like when I was comparing it to like the Disney movies, where it's just like what the gap that you're trying to make when you're doing these remakes and stuff and building or continuing this legacy essentially is something where somebody who knows will see it and be like, "Ah, yeah, I remember this because it's a memorable part," and then somebody who doesn't know getting that same feeling and being able to like relive that moment through their eyes and being able to like explain or talk about it at the same time and just kind of just have that shared experience, which just with certain remakes or remasters or whatever take away, like you were saying with the Nemesis part for Resident Evil 3 in the police station, like you're taking away, like, even if you don't think it's important, like, I mean, we're in the fucking we're in the future now. Like you can read the internet, you know what the memes are, you know what people talk about on forums and all that other stuff. You know the things people are looking for when you say, "Hey, we're going to do this to this game." Like, don't take out the key points. At the bare minimum, don't take out the key points that you know people are going to be looking for, or most likely going to be looking for,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
that's going to build the bridge of the old people and the new people coming together, and then just like continuing on with whatever it is that you're making as far as the brand is concerned.
I have a question. Um, because I know people who are very excited for F7 remake. Well, the second parts of the remake trilogy, or however you want to. And there are some people that I know who were pretty excited that certain characters got more screen time and more depth. And I know you guys mentioned like Yuffie being like kind of a character that was missable, and she kind of plays like a bigger role in this part of the trilogy or whatever. And I know that there are people who are excited for that, and I can understand that excitement because if I don't know, I can't think of an example of where a character wasn't that important but is more important. I guess I can't. I'll stick with Resident Evil. So like if I don't know, Mikhail in Resident Evil 3 had a bigger impact. I think he was a cool character, and he kind of died kind of early. But like it would have been cool if he had more, right? And he kind of did a little bit in the remake, but like it wasn't substantial, so it almost felt like nothing. So I can understand that position of like, oh man, this character was pretty cool, and I wish I knew more about them. Now I'm going to know more about them. But for you guys, it's kind of like, well, this is too much of a change from the original. Like, is your grief those changes, or is it the fact that that it's a trilogy? Is it a combination of the two? Like, where does what's the root of like the annoyance with F7 remake for you guys? I'm not saying one is right or wrong. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to go first?
I mean, for me, it's It's all of the above as far as 7 is concerned.
Really? Okay.
It's all of the above. Again, it's like it changes. I mean, they've already said that they're changing anyway. So at this point, it doesn't matter. They've admitted that no, we're just going to change everything. Which at this point, you're just trying to buy my attachment to the game, which I'm not going to let you do. But it's just like it. If you wanted the person to be important, you would have done that when you was developing it. Like, you wouldn't have done that now post however many years later decided that, oh well, now we're going to make, now that people have decided that they like this character, we're going to freaking do stuff with them.
Well, that's not true, because
make them playable.
If you're talking about the original Final Fantasy VII, that was a different team altogether, right? So
no, but I mean, it's not like, I'm sure some of those people are still around, but even then, it's just like, I know Yuffie became more popular over time through other means, as opposed to just being popular from the game itself.
Yeah, games like
Same-
Crisis Core made her more popular. The movie.
yeah.
The same thing for like Vincent. Vincent became more popular over time, and that's why he got his own game.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like if you wanted this, or if this was like you wouldn't have bothered making them missable if you didn't have like bigger plans from them.
Well,
begin
the short
with,
answer is they didn't have bigger
basically.
plans for her. Obviously, she was a missable character, and that's a trope for older RPG games where characters are just missable. Just because that's just
Yeah, but it was like,
right, in the game.
But I don't know, because like, well, I can't say that because Star Ocean is different. Because Star Ocean, you are forced to decide who you do and don't want to take, because Star Ocean is a game where it's like it's like it doesn't matter that much, but it matters for your party, because like certain people just don't like other people. So like if you want a certain team, like it's less of a problem in the later games, definitely in the later games. But like I want to say like the first three, definitely the first two, where like you'll get, I know we're in today's age of being racist and bigots. You will get racist characters where it's just like, I'm not going to join this party because you have these people in there, and I'm just not down with that. Or
you got an elf bitch in your party. Hell
yeah.
no.
Or the case of I forgot her name right now, but she's looking for her husband and she'll join you.
Oh yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
don't take her husband, she's
She'll
like, all right,
leave
well,
you.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Because I'm only here because I wanted to find my husband. I found my husband. All right, he's not with us. All right, cool. See you
Like,
later. It was fun.
Dude, I can't even get mad about that. Like she said, yeah, I'm only traveling with you, looking for my husband. Oh, you want to leave my husband behind? Well, he's my husband, so he is kind of more important to me than you guys.
Yeah, so I only asked that because for me, like, if you asked me that question about like RE3 remake, I would be able to tell you, well, I'm not upset that Carlos played a bigger role or anything like that, or that they even changed Nemesis's design, or even the fact that they changed his transformations. Like, okay, if you're gonna change those things, then like, all right, I'm willing to try it, right? Because change can be scary and change can be annoying, change can be bad, but change could also be good. Because if we look at RE2, RE2 changed Mr. X and how he interacted and how he worked, and I thought it was a change for the better. You mentioned it earlier when you were talking about it, Gunnar, where the stomping around, and it added like this stress factor, and I wish there was more of that in RE2.
Yeah.
Because that was my favorite part in RE2 as a whole. Like after the initial police station section of the game was still very good, but I did miss that like level of like stress. And then we got it again in the lab where he came out of nowhere for no reason. He was just like, "Oh, I'm here now," and so it just added a bunch of stress. And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like those moments were so great, and that's what makes that game so fantastic. But in 3, they just made a different game. Like they just wanted to make it more cinematic game, which I'm against. And so that's why I don't like that game. It's because they stripped content, but they didn't replace anything relative with it. So like that's my reason why I don't like RE3 remake, is because I feel like it's just a weaker game altogether, because it's trying to be something else. It's trying to be this like Last of Us kind of experience. It's like, I don't want that. That's not RE3, dog. Like you're getting it wrong. Like look at RE2, do that, but with these characters in this story beat. Like why are you trying these like new things? Like it really pissed me off. But
I mean, I wouldn't mind, or it's not necessarily that is the change that is the problem. I feel like it is forced change. Like again, I know it's now through time, these characters have become more popular, but I feel it's like, look, this is your legacy. Like she just was not this wasn't how she was. Like we could I don't remember the guy's name in Resident Evil 2, but like the police officer, like he
Oh,
plays
Marvin.
yeah, he plays more of an important part in RE2 the remake than I believe he did in the original.
Yeah, he
But
died in
absolutely,
like the first
absolutely. And I thought
yeah,
that was
but
like
that was
minute
fine.
of gameplay.
I thought that was an improvement.
yeah, like nothing ultimately changed. Like he still ultimately becomes a zombie, and then but now you're if anything you're more emotionally attached because now it's like, oh shit, this is my boy for like a good like freaking 2 hours
That's
or however
true.
long.
Yeah. In the original game, we're like, oh well, gotta kill you, I suppose. Now it's like, oh man, I
Yeah,
knew I was gonna have to kill Marvin, but it's like, man.
yeah. So it's like it's not like it can't be done or like I'm like against it completely, but like it's not like oh Marvin is the fucking like haha I'm fucking
I'm actually Wesker. It's like,
yeah
what? Watch
like
the Netflix show.
it's not setting off the wall like that like Yuffie being there in the beginning or like Vincent like well Vincent's not there yet but like Vincent coming out or Yuffie being there like I don't know what they're going to do like as far as especially for Vincent because like Vincent's going to be like is he just going to show up is he going to start fighting Sephiroth because Vincent is he used to be a part of the Turks
Yeah.
so and we know that the Turks are in this part so like is he going to show up fighting against the Turks is are we going to still be him freaking just being sealed away like what are we going to do that's going to like justify why Vincent is just here
So,
is
yeah. I mean, to kind of answer Kong's question from my perspective, I I could give it because you did make a good point. Zeta made the good point that these characters have become more known as Seven kind of became like the poster game for the Final Fantasy series, and like people, Vincent had his own game. Yuffie was in Crisis Core, and she was in Advent Children. So I could forgive if they wanted to kind of change the whole Yuffie's missable, Vincent's visible, and give them more of a fleshed out personality. Because I will lie, I will not lie, I did play the first one, because I was giving it a chance, and I did like what they did with Barrett's character, because Barrett for a while was just, as far as I was concerned, he was just angry black man that shot things, and they actually gave him more of a solidified character in the first game. Like he had, his motives was to take care of his daughter, but he was also like he cares about his community, he cares about the people, and he knows what he's doing isn't necessarily right, but it's the only thing he can do. I like that. I like that characterization of Barrett in the remake. The problem with the whole Yuffie thing is they already like this is the whole warping of the story. Before the second game came out, after the first game, there was DLC. I think it was called Seven Intergrade or something like that, because they just want to use these retarded ass fucking names. And Yuffie was the main character in that DLC, along with a new character that was never in the game. So, according to now the new story, Yuffie snuck into Midgar before the party meets her and is helping Avalanche because now Avalanche is more than just Barrett's group. She's helping Avalanche to destabilize Shinra. That is a complete addition to the original story. And I know it's to make Yuffie more important, and it's to give Yuffie fans something to do, and it was to hold people off until this part 2 came out. But it's just like as a purist, it's just like what is Yuffie doing in Midgar? Yuffie was never in Midgar. She wasn't in Midgar until your party came back to Midgar in like disc 4. So it's just like that's the stuff I don't like. I get if you want to make Yuffie more important, but you still could have done that within the original storyline. Just the consensus I would have to make is that she's no longer optional. She is a party member that you will recruit, but I could live with that if the reason you did that was to flesh out her character. But they already just like went off the rails with the story and added her before she's supposed to be there. So it's just like yeah, like Zeta said, I don't know what they're gonna do with Vincent now. Is he just gonna like fucking
So I have a
shoot
follow up
fucking
question.
Rufus?
So
Okay, yeah.
the Zack character who's supposed to be dead, and it was supposed to be Cloud's motivation. Um, I'm assuming, right? Like, am I right on that? Like,
That's who Cloud is based off of. Basically, yeah,
but
it's
he
basically
comes
motivation.
back at the end of the last game, right? Like, he's alive now or something. Is that accurate?
I think yeah, again, this is what happens. Oh my god, this is why it's so convoluted. Because spoiler alert, not that who cares, but the ending of the game is literally you kill the embodiment, like a physical manifestation of the canon of Final Fantasy VII. So when you're fighting that creature and killing it piece by piece, it literally showed like scenes from Advent Children, scenes from
So it
Crisis
was like a
Core,
meta
and like
way to like say, hey,
yeah,
the
it
old
was
story is no longer the
yeah.
story.
That's how I
Gotcha.
knew that. Yeah, that's the moment I knew this game was no longer for me.
That's kind of. I mean, that's kind of cool. That's a cool way to do it, but like, it's still fucked up. Okay, continue.
It's like yeah, your memories, fuck them. You just killed them. So yes, you were correct. Zack did die in the original game, and that's who Sephiroth basically implanted Zack's memories into Cloud to make Cloud think he was badass soldier man, but he really wasn't. Those were Zack's memories. But now, I'm pretty sure Zack is no longer dead because you killed the canon. So now we have time manipulation and like parallel universes going on, and it's just like, what the fuck? So I'm pretty sure he's gonna show up in the game, and it's like, so we have two Clouds now, or what? Th- that's what I don't like. It's just like there was a reason Zack died. His purpose in the story was to make Cloud who he was, and then for Cloud to confront the fact that he never, basically, he was living someone else's life. He was never what he thought it was because those were fake memories. And then Cloud growing as a character out of that to basically becoming his own person and not just a copy of another guy. Now I don't know what they're gonna do with that because now Zack is probably alive. So that's what I mean when I don't like that. As like a longtime fan of Seven, I don't like what they're doing with that. But you know, the ship is in the ocean currently and it is sailing, so there's not much I can do about that other than not support it, which is what I'm personally doing.
So to get away from Seven for a second, I know you guys were talking about Persona for a bit. What's like the deal with Persona 3 Reload? Because that's a recent remake, remaster, relaunch, whatever you want to call it. And it's been selling really well. But I know there's like complaints. So what does that look like? Because I haven't. Again, I'm not an RPG guy, so I'm not even gonna say and pretend like I know. Because I don't. I know nothing about that.
Name 12 personas right now. From what I'm reading, it's literally because it is a one-to-one remake.
Yeah.
It is the same story, the same social links, which basically, for those who don't know, are like interactions you have with your classmates, other people that like kind of allow you to build other personas. It ties into the RPG aspect of the game. Those are literally the same. It's just now they're all voiced because we have a bigger budget as opposed to back on the PS2 when we didn't. So, but they're
Yeah.
still the same.
Yeah, so everything that we are complaining about in 7, Persona 3 basically did not do. And now people are like, oh, well, this isn't, which is just false, but people are like, oh, well, this isn't worth the $70. Well, I mean, it's probably not worth $70, probably worth the standard 65. But to say that it's not worth it, I'm just like, PS2 game, this is freaking a modern thing. Like, it's not a port whatsoever. So to say that they didn't put work into it just because it's not, nothing has changed as far as the story is concerned, I think it's just wrong. Like, it's just that's just flat out wrong. Like,
Right. And they did add things, like they added it's hard to explain who somebody who is like sure, I guess, bro. But they added more they added more scenes where you interact with your party that weren't in the original game. So like now you have more like, because again, Persona is RPG with slice of life simulator mashed together and a dating sim thrown on top. So now you have more interactions with your teammates, and it's literally just, oh, I can watch a movie with my party member now. That's it. So like somebody outside, it's like, that's it. But to somebody who's played the original, it's like, yeah, because you didn't have a lot of essentially team bonding in the original game. It was all business. It's like, all right, we all live together because when we shoot ourselves in the head with these special guns, we summon these mythical creatures, and we're gonna fight the bad guys. We don't have to be buddies. We're all co-workers here.
And even then, it's still, I believe, because I know you and person who doesn't join our podcast, who's also playing the game, I think like they added things for it to be easier, because like these people who are complaining, well, they've been complaining about 3 for other reasons, but like these tourists who have been complaining didn't play the original Persona 3. Like there's a lot more leeway here than the original. The original, if you wanted to like min max everything and didn't want to have to play multiple times to get everything, like there wasn't a lot of free range or free time to do anything. Like you had a very strict schedule if you wanted to like get social links maxed up properly.
Yeah, so there are a lot. Yeah, you're right. There are a lot more activities you can do that weren't in the original to kind of raise those attributes like your intelligence, your charisma, your courage, which you couldn't do in the original because in order to do some social links, I'll just name for those listening who know you know. In order to start the social link with Mitsuru, you had to be genius. So which is the highest your academics could go. And if you didn't do it by a certain time, there was no way you could hit genius, start her social link, and finish her social link, get it to rank 10 before the game would end. So basically, you either don't get the social link at all, or just reside yourself to the fact that you're not going to max it out. It's not happening. You fucked it up. But now they gave you more activities to do to raise your academics faster and easier in order so it's not so tight of a crunch. And I have no problem with that's not one-to-one representation, but those modern little updates like that, one, they could have easily charged you for that in DLC, which thank God they did it. But I don't mind that that's there because it kind of releases the burden and allows me to kind of just be more casual with how I play the game. So I'm cool with that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I see when I read it. That they didn't do enough to change it. It's too close to the original game, and it's like, yeah, but that's good, right? That's good. But apparently,
to me, that's a great thing, right? Like I mentioned when I first started to speak, those are some of the better remakes to me. Like the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy is rebuilt from the ground up, and it's like it's not perfect 1-to-1, but like it's really, really close. And so, but it's actually improved in some respects because of just modern programming and just modern game design being what it is. Right. It's a little easier to play, and so therefore it's more enjoyable. I think those are the better kind of remakes versus, Wait 3, for example, which is just a whole other clusterfuck. But anyway.
So, yeah, that was just my I don't know. I just thought that was interesting, and I know, Yukong, you're not a big RPG dude, but you do have your opinions on Resident Evil. I know Zeta's, the RPG guy in our group, so he would probably have more of an opinion on that regard. But I'm not gonna be like, oh, this game literally has to be the same game. I like it to be, but I am personally okay with slight changes and flips of the script, so to speak, for the sake of.
It sounds like it's a really fine line between one-to-one remakes being a good thing, and then taking liberties and changing and adding things can be good, but there's a boundary where it becomes too much, and that's what I'm getting from you guys. That 7 is that's crossing a boundary. Like you guys are adding stuff, you're
Oh,
changing stuff, but like you're adding too much, you're changing too much, and so now it's
yo,
becoming a
bro,
different thing.
those dudes leapfrogged over the boundary and then blew up the bridge, so you can't even repair the boundary anymore.
I feel like it is a line, but I feel like the line is just it's not really a line. It's just like an open bridge, and it's just like some companies are just like I don't want to take the bridge. I want to build a new bridge because like there's like because all of these are for the most part that we're talking about are coming from, or at least as far as the Final Fantasy stuff is coming from Square Enix. So it's like we have, or they're letting other people develop it, but it's still their stuff. Like I said, we got Trials of Mana, we've got Star Ocean, and we have the two front missions games that I forgot to mention.
Oh, that's true.
Like
Yeah.
like these are all like redone or remastered, whatever you fuck you want to call it, remakes. These are all remakes, but only seven is the one that's like just far and out there. Just everything is different. Like seven and RE3 are basically kind of like the same thing. Where it's just like, why have you changed so much? And are trying to sell this to me and be like, look, your childhood, your nostalgia. This is what you remember, right? Like, no, this is not. This is not what I remember. Like, this isn't even like a slight upgrade to what I remember. Like you jumped the shark. Like, what is this? Like, you're selling me a skin suit. I don't want this. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like there's just
Exactly.
an open goal, but like there's like seven is just the name because it's like I have like a slight care because I wanted it the seven thing to be good, but like I don't like complain about the Star Ocean or the Trials of Mana or even the front mission. Like front mission has more of the no, I'm gonna confuse it. Not front mission is it's fuck, what is it called? Something with Odin? I don't remember what the strategy game is now.
Ogre Tactics.
Yeah, there you go. Orga
Okay.
Tactics. Yeah, like
Isn't
Orga
it
Tactics. Like
Tactics
Orga
Ogre?
Tactics has
Tactics Ogre. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
but yeah, but like that one has more of the Octopath like art style, I believe, right? Like it doesn't
Oh, you
have
mean triangle strategy or
no. I
you
still
mean?
I still mean
Okay. Okay.
Tactics Ogre, but I believe its style or its graphical look is in the Octopath style, I think, right? Or am
No,
I?
it retained its. It looks more like or
Because I know originally it looks well, it came before Tactics, but I'm just gonna
yes,
say it looks like Tactics.
yeah. They still kept that art style. It's just cleaner now. It's just
Okay.
not as pixelated anymore.
Fuck, I might be mixing it up with another game because I know there's another game that got done, but it follows the Octopath style of look, which is like I'm not bothered by that. Like it's still basically the game that it was. It just has a different art style, which is like, all right, well, this is fine. Like I'm not like I don't hate that. Like that's not really where my issue lies. My issues lies in where it's like you're changing things completely to where thing again like things that I would remember or things that should be there are just not because just essentially reasons.
Yeah, yeah. Like
But
I'm not gonna play it, but I will follow Seven, and I'll probably there'll probably be a streamer, maybe Logical Gamers. Hey, plug. Maybe somebody I watch will stream it, and I'll watch it via them because it's free, and I am curious to see what they do because I know they're gonna change. I still bet money Aerith is not going to die, or you are going to be able to bring her back through some plot device that they add in the third game because we need you to buy the third one. It's gonna happen. They can't we cannot have consequences in our video games anymore. Unless it's to kill iconic characters that people like because the male gaze. I don't know. I don't make games, so
Yeah,
what
we
do
don't
I
talk
know?
about The Last of Us too. Okay, well, I mean, interesting. I was just I'm just asking questions to kind of gauge where you guys are coming from. I think I get it. Um, I don't think for you guys it's necessary like gameplay changes. I think you probably welcome the gameplay changes.
I mean,
yeah,
me, I'm old man yells at sky. I want every RPG to be turn based, but I know I'm like mega minority
Yeah,
in that, and I've kind of lost that war. So that's just in my heart. But I didn't mind the combat. I got over it. It was like, okay, this is okay. It's what the
it was
kiddos
more about
like.
the
So
plot and the way
yeah,
things were changed, and yeah, so I get it. All right, Gunnar. Well, you can take us home, man.
Radio. Well, that was our topic for this evening. I hope you guys joined it. If you were kind enough to stick around and listen to our madman ramblings for the hour plus that we've been talking, I appreciate you. I love you. Um, if you like this, you want to hear more about it, you want to voice your own opinions, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We read our comments, we respond to our comments. We're looking for more fan engagement, fan ideas. If you're a hardcore 7 stan and we're wrong, let us know. I mean, we'll keep it civil. We're always open to being convinced. So anyway, yes, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you follow us for more videos. We drop a video every Wednesday. We have a lot of stuff going on. Mr. Esoteric, who currently isn't here with us tonight, he streams on the main Logical Gamers channel. Usually streams every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. He's been doing a lot of kind of spontaneous guerrilla streams. So, he's a variety gamer. He's currently on Lords of the Fallen. So he's playing something new every month. So if you like that, make sure you subscribe to him. Check him out on Twitch. Yeah, I think that does everything. Yeah. So once again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a good one, and we'll catch you on the next one.